What is up? It's your boy Johnny Shreve, IFBB Pro, and Mr. Tell Like It Is. What happens when one of Hollywood's biggest stars shrinks? Well guys, today I'm going to cover the shocking transformation of Dave Bautista. I'm going to go over why he made the change, how he made the change, and how long did it take him to make that change, how you can do the exact same thing for yourself. Let's dive into it. I am not only a strength conditioning coach, transformation coach, an IFBB professional bodybuilder, I'm actually an actor. I've done 2 feature films, and now I'm in the 2nd season of The Trades that we start filming this fall. So I got some skin in the game. Give you guys a really good close look on how this is actually possible. Dave Bautista, 55 years old, wrestler, actor, went from 320 pounds to 240 pounds. That's a 80-pound drop, which is actually crazy. Well, why would he do this? Just like myself, because I can really relate to this entire story. Number one, for health. I don't care if you're 300 pounds of muscle or 300 pounds of fat. Being 300 pounds is not healthy. I'm pretty sure if you do some stats to see how many people make it past 70 years old at 300 pounds, I'm pretty sure the number gets less and less and less and less. And I can tell you this because I know for experience, because my Uncle Abdul the Butcher, is a professional WWE Hall of Fame wrestler. Retired, obviously. But watching him now, in the later part of his life, in a wheelchair, hard to walk, because of all the brutality in the sport, the fact that he was 300 pounds, it's just not healthy. 2, he wants more roles. He's getting typecasted for all the roles that require him to be obviously an action star, but a big action star. Every single movie that he has been in, he has been the big dude, the action star. Drax from Guardians of the Galaxy to character in Dune, Cabin in the Woods, he's gotta be this larger than life character. And when it comes to production, they're gonna want that character to fit their vision for their movie. And he's at the point now, it's like, you know what, I wanna be in other movies. He actually wants to be in some rom-coms. And just like same thing for me. If I wanna get more roles, I have to get smaller. So when you see other channels, they're like, oh, well, you know, they gotta get up to X amount of weight. They have to, you know, take a bunch of steroids so they end up being what production wants them to be. That's actually a load of crap. The reason why guys like The Rock and Dave Bautista are able to just go into Hollywood and make it, in a sense, in the roles they have, as big as they are, is because they're already big stars in the WWE. They're going from a big star in WWE to helping sell tickets in the box office. But when it comes to action stars, Arnold Schwarzenegger had to lose a bunch of weight to play Terminator. Sylvester Stallone, same thing. Put it this way, Hugh Jackman is 6'3", 180 pounds. Chris Hemsworth is close to 6 foot, he was only about 190 pounds. So is Chris Evans. Like these characters who are playing these big roles in action flicks aren't required to take a bunch of steroids to get larger than life. Like I said, these guys are already coming from being larger than life, and they just fit the role based on the producers or production's need or vision. So when it comes to them playing these roles, there's no need for him to be 320 pounds. He can play any action role at 240 pounds. That's still massive enough. And now because of his size and the transformation he made and him looking that much better, slimmer, he can play other roles. And looking at him now, you're like, look, oh, I can't believe how small he is. Is he sick? Dude, he's 240 pounds, 6'4". That's still a large ass man. So when it comes to reasonings, health, more roles, and just overall feeling better. He even says how much better he feels. And I can say the same thing for myself. When I was 270 pounds to 265 pounds to 255 pounds, 240 pounds, 225 pounds, and now 210 pounds, I feel the best I've ever felt. When it comes to roles that I'm getting behind the scenes, I'm getting casting calls. I'm getting casting calls for roles that aren't just typecasted as the villain, the monster, the big dude, the whatever it is. So when it comes down to it, this is an absolutely amazing move. People really don't understand how long these things actually take to happen. Well, it takes around 1.5 to 3 years for an entire movie from pre-production to when it goes out into theater. 1 to 3 years. The movie where he had to put on the most amount of weight was Knock at the Cabin. He was 320 pounds for that movie. That movie came out in 2023. So the movie itself was wrapped up, basically they finished wrapping production in June of 2022, which means somewhere along the lines of when Guardians of the Galaxy was put out in 2022, he just finished wrapping up for that movie. Put on the weight to be in the Knock at the Cabin, but still was able to keep that weight for movies like Guardians of the Galaxy. Dune 2 production started July 22nd, which means that he was already as big as he needs to be for that production. And then when that's done, now he starts to losing weight. Now, when does that actually happen? that weight loss journey happens about a year from where we are today. The movie that he's in right now that we're seeing the big, huge, like, oh my God, look how small he is. He looks well, it's crazy. The Killer's Game started their production in 2023. That means right after he was finished Cabin in the Woods, he started losing his weight, which would have been 2023. So 2020 to end of 2022, 2023, it takes him a year to lose 80 pounds. And you're like, 80 pounds? That's crazy. Can you do that in a year? If you lost a pound of fat a week consistently for 52 weeks, you lose 50-ish pounds. Dave Bautista at his highest was around 320-ish pounds. So if he's 320 pounds, around maintenance for him would be around 4,800 calories. And I would assume that he's probably not just eating at maintenance because again, he had to eat up to getting to 320 pounds. So I would say, let's just round it up and say he was eating around 5,000 to 5,500 calories. For him to lose a pound of fat a week for a year, he would just have to be in a 500 calorie deficit. Now, when it comes down to the entire transformation, well, just being in a calorie deficit isn't gonna do it when you gotta lose all of that muscle as well too. Remind you guys, he's 320 pounds of muscle and fat. When he was playing Knock in the Cabin, he was a big ass dude. If you check out his face, he looks plump. Very round face, very bloated. Now you're probably thinking like, how did he get up to that weight? What is he doing? He's not on bodybuilding dosages or cycles. There's no reason to be on a bunch of different steroids. Now, how do I know this? Well, because I've talked to some WWE wrestlers and they've given me some good insight. We're talking DECA, and that's prescribed by a doctor, and that's gonna help with your joints and muscle gain. Testosterone, 100%, growth hormone. Those are three things that these guys need to get the size they are. He's 6'4". He was already a big guy. These are genetically gifted freaks. I would assume that they're obviously genetically gifted, they're hyper responders, they're super athletic. So when it comes to him losing all of that muscle, it's gonna be a lot more than just being in a 500 calorie deficit. So this is what I definitely speculate that he did. His transformation took about a year to lose 80 pounds. How do you lose 80 pounds? Well, I know how to do that because I've lost 50 some odd pounds in the last 3 years. It wasn't necessarily that hard, to be honest. Now to do it in a year, to lose all the muscle as well too, you're gotta be working a little harder. Now here's some things that he said he has done and what I can definitely speculate he has done as well too. Number one, being in a deficit. Now he's gonna be in more than a 500 calorie deficit. He's gonna be more so in like cutting it down to, I would say, like, 4,500 calories. Cardio on top of that. Doing a lot more functional training, aerobics in terms of like running, jogging, all those things to help lose muscle. And the obvious, reducing all of the steroids that he was doing. If he's gonna come off, well, he's not gonna come completely off because that would be actually ridiculous. He's just going down to a basic TRT dose. Let's just speculate and say he's doing 600 milligrams of DECA and about 1,000 milligrams of testosterone. If it's real GH, 7 IUs plus, and trimming that all the way down to, I would assume he's probably doing around 100 milligrams of DECA and around 150 milligrams of testosterone to keep his overall bloods at a good, healthy level. And doing that will help reduce the muscle on his body because again, when we get older, our bodies don't want to carry unnecessary amounts of weight and muscle. We've already talked about the sarcopenia happening to us when we get in our 30s and 30s plus. Hormone reduces, ability to hold protein reduces, all those things reduce. When you're combining that with super physiological amounts of steroids and then reducing that, well, it's gonna speed up the process of losing muscle, losing fat, etc. So now we're down there. What do we do to kind of maintain that? Well, he's probably eating around like 3,600 calories to keep his weight where it is. In the grand scheme of things, we have a reduction in overall steroid use to a TRT dose of DECA and testosterone, a caloric deficit of, I would say, about 1,000 calories to start this entire process, along with more cardio, more mobility, just more moving in general, reducing your overall protein to help lose all that weight, and then staying there to maintain the look that he has right now. Now, he has mentioned that it was pretty brutal getting it off, and I would assume it is too, because again, that's 80 pounds in a year isn't that long, especially when we're talking about muscle. The one thing about like losing fat, and losing fat's fairly easy compared to losing muscle, right? You have to really try to lose muscle, especially someone who's been carrying it as long as Dave Bautista. So to summarize things, we have a 320 pound Dave Bautista that takes him a year to lose 80 pounds for more roles to open up, to not be as typecast as he is, to be overall just healthy. Reducing steroid amounts, his calories, his protein, to get down to a healthier overall weight. How do you guys do that? Well, when it comes down to just like losing weight, you can do the same thing he did. I'm not saying you guys watching around like crazy amount of steroids, but when it comes down to getting to the place you want to be physically, losing fat, gaining muscle, etc., doing something similar to this isn't that far off. What it's gonna take for you to lose weight is to be in a caloric deficit. When it comes to caloric deficit, it doesn't mean that you chop half your calories away. I would start with just look to see what you're actually doing. If we're not moving that much, then we wanna start actually moving. Start moving first. And then just start cutting out some of the obvious junk that you don't need to eat at all. Once that thing's out and you're moving for a bit after a few weeks already, now we start to implement a little more nutritional habits. Making sure we're getting enough water and make sure we're eating enough protein, 100 grams of protein per body weight. Making sure we're eating enough calories. Even though you're in a deficit, we still need to eat enough calories for our body to go through the process to lose the fat we want and sustain the muscle that you have, or even keep muscle or even add muscle. Now, when it comes to being in a deficit, you only need to be in around like 250 calorie deficit to start. Then we can kind of bump it up to 500 calories. We also want to make sure we avoid trying to just drop a bunch of calories to get to the place where Dave is. We can't do that. We don't want to do that. He didn't do that. We want to slowly, gradually take away calories, but still make sure that we don't go lower than like 10 times our body weight in calories. Lower than that means we can't give our body enough proper macronutrients for our body to run the way it should. Even if you're gonna be in extreme deficit, we wanna make sure we cover all the things that we can eat, 1 to 1 grams of protein per body weight. We wanna make sure that we're eating around 20 to 30% of our fats from our entire caloric intake, and then filling the rest of that with carbs. Doing that over time, and then basically balancing out, doing more activity in terms of cardio and training. Once you're there and you got to your desired weight, then we start to kind of work ourselves backwards. So if you had to reduce a bunch of calories to get down to 240 pounds, we're gonna slowly increase our calories, about 100 calories every week to every other week, just to watch your body, make sure we're not spiking up. Let's say you have to do an hour of cardio every day to get down to 240 pounds, including your deficit. We're gonna go from that hour cardio and we're gonna reduce it maybe to 45 minutes. But we're still gonna keep around 30 minutes of cardio at least in our everyday life, because that's just overall gonna keep you healthy. That's all we gotta do. I think that this transformation with Dave Bautista was absolutely amazing. Here's a question for you. Do you think that he's gonna keep this size, or do you think he's gonna eventually have to bump his way back up for maybe the next role that he gets? Let me know in the comment section below, and hope you guys enjoyed the video. And if you did, make sure you guys like, subscribe, and share. Until next time, you know how it is. Iron sharpens iron. Progressive overload your life. In the meantime, keep dream chasing. Peace.